Howdy do y'all, this is John, and today we are talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, a classic film from Walt Disney Studios, released back in 1937. And in Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, it deals with this princess who is on the run from her evil stepmother, who is envious at her youth and beauty, and she ends up stumbling upon the seven little dwarves. They agree to protect her, but the evil queen, the evil stepmother, she's still after her. And we have a movie. Okay, so getting into it first and foremost, this is easily one of the most important movies, historically speaking, ever made. This is the first feature-length animated movie in history. And, it broke an insane amount of ground for when it was released. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of things about this movie have surprisingly, stood the test of time. For example, its themes, a lot of them are still relevant, today. Themes about love and courage and having just recently watched this film for the first time in years, this stuff still resonates today, nearly a century later. So it baffles me whenever I hear people say, this movie's so outdated. Not really. As far as the story goes, because they were breaking new ground, they just went with a simple story, which I don't blame them for it at all. It's a simple story. You know where A to B to C goes, and as far as narratively speaking, it's easy to understand, and it doesn't really do much new, but what it does is it still, creates a good, well-structured story. You understand who the hero is, who the villain is, and it still manages to entertain you all this time later. Now, in terms of the animation quality, it is way above average for its time. Walt Disney, as an animator, as a movie producer, he was always just ahead of his time in terms of animation quality. And while I don't think that, the animation's as good as, peak Walt era Disney, was, which to me, the best Walt Disney animation was during Walt's time was in the 1950s. The animation quality in this movie, it's well above average for its time. I don't know if any of you guys had ever seen the average animated film, from the 1930s, but the only, good quality animations you would see were shorts made by Walt Disney or the Merry Melody shorts. That's about it. Now, when it comes to the musical elements of the film, because it is a musical, there's some catchy tunes in the film. And, even nearly a century later, they're still catchy. Of course, everyone knows, It's Off to Work We Go. But there's also some other catchy tunes in the film. I don't know what all of them are named. I just remember It's Off to Work We Go, which that's a good tune. In terms of timing, some of the timing is, for the musical numbers, is not bad. Others, again, talking about It's Off to Work We Go, that makes sense. I can, tell you as a working man, it's not uncommon to hear your co-workers sing while they work. They just won't dance, because that's just weird. Or, sing while they wash. However, there's others where it's just okay, you don't have to sing at this point. Now, in terms of problems with the movie, There are a couple of characters that I think could have been written better. One of them is the prince. He just shows up for one scene, and then he just screws off till the end of the movie. What would have made the idea of, the prince being Snow White's true love, more believable, is if he was more present in the film. If he showed up a couple more times, maybe, at the end of the movie, fought the evil queen instead of the dwarves doing it, maybe I would have found it believable that, the prince was Snow White's true love. But no. And speaking of the ending, without getting into spoilers, okay. You know what, screw it. I think we all know the story of Snow White by now. The ending's kind of anticlimactic. Snow White bites the poisoned apple, dies. The dwarves chase the evil queen. The evil queen gets struck by lightning and dies. It's a little anticlimactic. I'm not going to lie. It's a little more. It's more than a little anticlimactic. So overall, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's aged pretty well. And the thing that kind of sucks the most about this is that, unlike a lot of the other Disney remakes we've been getting, this one I could see kind of benefiting from a remake. The problem is the remake that they're about to release, they literally throw out everything integral to the story of Snow White out the door. Themes about love and courage are now being replaced with, political nonsense and leadership, that kind of stuff. And while, to be fair, Snow White does have a few leadership qualities, that's not what the story's about. On top of that, the lead actress is very unlikable as a human being, and it's definitely going to negatively affect the film significantly. In my opinion, a Snow White live-action remake should have been done 15 or 20 years ago, and with Michelle Trachtenberg as Snow White. But tragically, that's not going to happen now. And the remake we are getting, no one wants to see it. Because they are just screwing up the entire thing. So back to what I was saying, in conclusion, Snow White, still a pretty good movie nearly a century later. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. It's not perfect. It's definitely a victim of its time a little bit, but, it's one of the most important films in cinema history, and what holds up to this day is still strong. I'm going to give Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs an 8. For the record, just like with The Little Mermaid, I have no intention of seeing the new Snow White remake. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to review it. I'm just going to find something else to watch. Well, that's all the time I have for today. Please look forward to more videos real soon. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please also subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, please remember, the Petsky will return.